Okay, chapter 9. Just about everything that happened to me that summer happened because of Winn-Dixie. For instance, without him, I never would have met Gloria Dump. She was the one who introduced us. He was the one who introduced us. That was a big change. What happened was this. I was riding my bike home from Gertrude's Pets, and Winn-Dixie was running along beside me. We went past Dunlop and Stevie Dewberry's house, and then Dunlop and Stevie saw me, and they got on their bikes and started following me. They wouldn't ride with me. They just rode behind me and whispered things that I couldn't hear. Neither one of them had any hair on his head because his mama shaved it off every week during summer because one time Dunlop got fleas in his hair from their cat Sadie, and now they look like two identical bald-headed babies, even though they weren't twins. Dunlop was 10 years old and Stevie was 9.5. Stevie was 9 and tall for his age. I can hear you, I hollered back at them. I can hear what you're saying, but I couldn't. Winn-Dixie started racing up way ahead of me. You better watch out, Dunlap hollered. That dog's headed right for the witch's house. Winn-Dixie, I called, but he kept going faster and faster and hopped the gate and then went into the most overgrown jungle of a yard I had ever seen. You better get your dog out of there, Dunlop said. The witch will eat that dog, Stevie said. Shut up, I told them. I got off my bike and went up to the gate and hollered, Winn-Dixie, you better come on out of here. You better come on out of there. But he didn't. She's probably eating him right now, Stevie said. He and Dunlop were standing beside me. She eats dogs all the time. Get lost, you bald-headed babies, I told them. Hey, Dunlop said, that ain't a very nice way for a preacher's daughter to talk. He and Stevie backed up a little. I stood there and thought for a minute. I finally decided I was more afraid of losing Winn-Dixie than I was of having to deal with a man with a dog-eating witch, so I went through the gate and into the yard. That witch is going to eat the dog for dinner and you for dessert, Stevie said. We'll tell the preacher what happened to you, Dunlop shouted after me. By then, I was deep in the jungle. There was every kind of thing growing everywhere. There were flowers and vegetables and trees and vines. Winn-Dixie, I said. I heard, this dog sure likes to eat. I went around a really big tree covered in moss, and there was Winn-Dixie. He was eating something right out of the witch's hand. She looked up at me. This dog sure likes peanut butter, she said. You can always trust a dog that likes peanut butter. She was old with wrinkly brown skin. She had on a big floppy hat with flowers all over it, and she didn't have any teeth. And she didn't look like a witch, but she looked nice. And Winn-Dixie liked her, I could tell. I'm sorry he got in your garden, I said. You ain't need to be sorry, she said. Enjoy a little company. My name's Opal, I told her. My name's Gloria Dump, she said. Ain't that a terrible last name? Dump. My last name is Baloney. Sometimes the kid back home in Watley called me lunch meat. Ha ha, Gloria Dump laughed. What about this dog? What do you call him? Winn-Dixie, I said. Winn-Dixie thumped his tail on the ground. He tried smiling, but it was hard with his mouth all full of peanut butter. Winn-Dixie? Gloria Dump said. You mean like the grocery store? Yes, ma'am, I said. Hoo-wee, she said. That makes a strange name prize, doesn't it? Yes, ma'am, I said. I was just fixing to make myself a peanut butter sandwich, she said. You want one too? All right, I said. Yes, please. Go on and sit, she said, pointing at a lawn chair at the back with the back busted out of it. But sit down careful. I sat down careful, and Gloria Dump made me a peanut butter sandwich on white bread. She made one for herself and put her false teeth in to eat it. When she was done, she said to me, you know, my eyes ain't all that good. I can't see nothing but the general shape of things, so I got to rely on my heart. Why don't you go and tell me everything about yourself so I can see you with my heart? And Winn-Dixie was looking up at her like she was the best thing he'd ever seen. And because the peanut butter sandwich had been so good, and because I had been waiting for a long time to tell some person about me, I did. I'm going to read chapter 10 too. I told Gloria Dump everything. I told her how me and Preacher just moved to Naomi and how I had to leave all my friends behind. I told her about my mama leaving. I listed out the 10 things I knew about her, and I explained that here in Naomi, I miss my mama more than I ever had in Watley. I told her about the preacher being like a turtle, hiding all the time inside his shell. I told her about finding Winn-Dixie in the produce department and how because of him, I became friends with Miss Franny Block and got a job working for a man named Otis at Gertrude's Pets. And I got invited to Sweetie Pie Thomas's birthday party. I even told Gloria Dump how Dunlop and Stevie Dewberry called her a witch. But I told her they were stupid, mean, bald-headed boys, and I didn't believe them, not for long anyway. And the whole time I was talking, Gloria Dump was listening. She was nodding her head and smiling and frowning and saying, is that right? I could feel her listening with all her heart, and it felt good. You know what? She said when I was all done. What? Could be you got more of your mama in you than just red hair and freckles and running fast. Really? I said. Like what? Like maybe you got a green thumb. The two of us could plant something and see how it grows, test out the thumb. Okay, I said. What Gloria Dump picked for me to grow was a tree, or she said it was a tree. To me, it looked more like a plant. She had me dig a hole for it and put it in the ground and pat the dirt in tight, like it was a baby and I was tucking it into bed. What kind of tree is it? I asked Gloria Dump. It's a wait and see tree, she said. What's that mean? It means you gotta wait for it to grow up before you know what it is. Can I come back and see it tomorrow? I asked. Child, she said, as long as this is my garden, you're welcome in it. But that tree ain't gonna have changed much by tomorrow. But I want to see you too, I said. Said Gloria Dump. I ain't going nowhere. I'll be right here. I woke Winn-Dixie up then. He had peanut butter in his whiskers, and he kept yawning and stretching. He licked Gloria Dump's hand before we left, and I thanked her. That night, the preacher was tucking me into bed, and I told him how I got a job at Gertrude's Pets. I told him about making friends with Miss Franny Block and getting invited to Sweetie Pie's party, and I told him about meeting Gloria Dump. Winn-Dixie lay on the floor waiting for the preacher to leave so I could hop up on the bed like he always did. When I was done talking, the preacher kissed me good night, and then he leaned way over and gave Winn-Dixie a kiss too, right on the top of his head. You go right ahead and get up there now, he said to Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie looked at the preacher. He didn't smile at him, but he opened his mouth wide like he was laughing, like the preacher had just told him the funniest joke in the world, and this is what amazed me the most. The preacher laughed back. Winn-Dixie hopped up on the bed. The preacher got up and turned out the light. I leaned over and kissed Winn-Dixie too, right on his nose, but he didn't even notice. He was already asleep and snoring. And that's the end of chapter 10.